Hi everyone. Now we are going to discuss about water pollution. Water pollution occurs when energy and other materials are released into the water and thus contaminating the quality of it for other users. Water pollution is going to be defined in a simple terms that of a contamination of water bodies like lakes, rivers, oceans and groundwater is going to be defined as water pollution. And as I told you that this water pollution occurs when some sort of pollutants are discharged directly or indirectly into the water bodies without adequate treatment to remove harmful compounds that was arised mainly due to the consequence of human activities is going to be termed as water pollution. And this water pollution is going to affect plants and organisms living in these bodies of water, and in almost all cases the effect is damaging not only to the individual species and population but also to the natural biological communities. So this water pollution is going to be considered as the second most important environmental issue next to our air pollution. Coming to the causes of water pollution, we are going to have the different causes like marine dumping, then industrial waste, then sewage mainly from the household that is going to be getting into the water bodies, then nuclear waste, oil pollution, underground storage leakages, and these are all going to be causing the pollution of many water bodies such as lakes, rivers, etc. Then moving to the effects of water pollution. So the effects of water pollution are not only devastating to people but also to animals, fishes and birds. And the polluted water is unsuitable for drinking, recreation, agriculture and industrial purposes. So how it is going to, that means how the water pollution is affecting the environment means it is making the water to be more toxic, and it is going to rise the thermal heating where the temperature of the water is going to rise such that the water animals and the plants are going to die because of that thermal pollution. Then our sources of water becoming poisonous and poisoning food animals too. Then how this water pollution going to affect the humans means disease caused by the drinking water is going to be contaminated water, and the swimming in polluted water is going to cause certain diseases, skin allergies like that, and the contact with the chemically polluted water even it is going to cause the skin rashes and some sort of diseases. Then how they are going to affect the animals? So because of the dumping of litter in the seas can cause a huge population or of what we call as marine animals and may result in the death. So we can see certain fishes floating on the surface of the water because of the death, and even many of the tortoise or turtles are going to die each year because of this dumping of litter in it. And some nuclear waste is also being produced from industrial, medical and scientific process that use radioactive materials, and this nuclear waste can have detrimental effects on the marine habits. Then this is how the path of the contamination of water is going to occur and reaching all the bodies from the water body to the different organisms, and again how it is going to reach the animals and the man. Then what are the types of water pollution? So we are going to have the different types. The first one is going to be of surface water, and the second one is groundwater pollution, then microbiological water pollution, oxygen depletion pollution, we have oil spills pollution, chemical water pollution, ecological pollution and thermal pollution. So let's see the first one, surface water pollution. Here found on the exterior of the earth crust, oceans, rivers and lakes. So the surface water is going to be polluted. Whereas the groundwater pollution is going to found in soil and under rock structures or aquifers. Then microbiological water pollution, so where the microorganisms thrives on water and fishes that can cause illness to land animals and humans. Then oxygen depletion pollution. So here the microorganisms that are present in the contaminated water, they are going to feed on the biodegradable substances and leads to the depletion of the oxygen, which is essential for the water animals that are going to survive in the water. Then coming to the oil pollution. So here oil pollutions, offshore wells, tankers, pipelines and the storage tanks will cause death of organisms and loss of animal insulation and buoyancy smoothing may occur. Then chemical water pollution, we know that many of the industries are dumping off all their waste without any prior treatment into the water bodies, which is causing the presence of many chemicals which are poisonous. The best example is the Minimata disease. The presence of the mercury in the water bodies is going to be because of one of the type of chemical water pollution. Then coming to the ecological pollution, this type of pollution takes place when chemical pollution, organic pollution, or the thermal pollution are caused by nature rather than by the human activity is going to be of ecological pollution. An example of this ecological pollution would be an increased rate of siltation of waterway after a landslide, which would increase the amount of sediments in the runoff water. The second one, large animals like deer drowns in a flood and a large amount of organic matter is added to the water as a result. And the third example, geological events such as volcano eruption might also be the sources of ecological pollution. So because of all these reasons, where the human activities are not included, such type of the pollutions is going to be considered as ecological pollution. Then moving to the thermal pollution. So here it is going to occur when water is used as a coolant near a power or industrial plant and then is returned into the aquatic environment at a higher temperature rather than it was original. So this thermal pollution can lead to the decrease in the dissolved oxygen level in the water while also increasing the biological demand of aquatic organisms for oxygen. So that's how it is going to affect. Then here is a just brief note of microbiological water pollution that I already told you. So microbiological water pollution is usually a natural form of water pollution caused by microorganisms. So those microorganisms may be bacteria, virus, protozoa, elements, etc. And one of the best example of waterborne disease is cholera that comes from microorganisms that live in the water. And these diseases usually affect the health of people in poorer countries as they do not have the facilities to treat the polluted water. Then what are the sources of water pollution? So here coming to the sources of water pollution, we have the two main sources. One is going to be called as point source and another one is going to be called as non-point source. So what is meant by point source? So pollution flowing from a single and identifiable sources such as discharge pipe or that are coming from a factory, roadway or from leaking underground storage tanks are going to be considered as point source. That means a single and identifiable source is going to be considered as a point source. Then what is meant by non-point source? So here in the non-point sources, pollution collected by the rainfall over a large watersheds, which is then carried by the runoff that are going to be nearby lake or stream or by infiltration into the groundwater. So these are all going to be considered as the non-point sources. So that the water coming from the urban streets, suburban, then rural homes, croplands, animal feedlot. So these are all going to be considered as a non-point source where we cannot point out the or identify the source of contamination. So here in detail explanation of the point source pollution. So as I told you, point source pollution means single and identifiable sources. So hazardous and toxic materials from the manufacturing and the industrial discharge directly into the water, usually through a pipe or a leaky underground tank. Like here we are going to have the oil and gasoline, then solvents like toxic liquids, toxins and poisonous substances, heavy metals like arsenic, lead, mercury, etc. Even the thermal pollution can also occur where heated water causes the removal of the dissolved or decreases the dissolved oxygen into the water body, which can result in fish killing. Then coming to the non-point source pollution, where we cannot identify, it is coming from the different sources. So you can see here from the forest, homes, city streets, urban areas, suburban areas, animal sheds, okay, and the cropland. So these are all going to act as a non-point sources of water pollution. So gas, oil, chemicals, detergents containing phosphorus, trash and other pollutants collected of driveways, roads and city streets flow directly down the drains and sewers to the near body of water untreated. So changing the landscape changes the amount of runoff in the watershed. And this non-point source pollution is harder pollution to solve when compared to the point sources. Then modern farming, we know this is also a non-point source, a major source of non-point source pollution, where maximum use of pesticides and herbicides can be washed into the nearby lakes and rivers. So crop fields, especially after harvest, can wash large amounts of dirt and sediment into nearby lakes and the rivers. Even the animal waste can be a source of nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and thus entering nearby lakes and rivers, leading to the serious problem of eutrophication. So about this eutrophication, we will discuss in the next part. Okay. Then construction and mining is also a kind of a non-point source where we are going to have the clearing, cutting trees and plowing a field to create a mining or construction site can be a major source of non-point source pollutants. So no need of going to the mining areas and observing. Even when you go near to a what we call as servicing centers of any of your vehicles, then also you can see of finding no plant growth is going to be seen. Even near the petrol bunks also you can see that the soil is going to be of very greasy in nature, where there may be no possibility of having any plant growth. So without the trees and the plants in the field to hold the soil in place, large amounts of dirt and sediment can be discharged into nearby lake or the stream. So these can be of a source of toxic materials, all those things, and where even the construction materials or the mining materials are also being released into the water, and thus they are going to pollute. Then groundwater pollution. So the groundwater pollution is going to be because of different sources, and the result of it is going to be of low flow rates, then low oxygen, then cold temperatures, and few bacteria can be present. So here you can see that the groundwater is going to be contaminated by different aspects that we are doing. For example, landfilling, where the biodegradation of these organisms are going to be done by the organisms in the landfill. So it's a kind of biodegradation where the water is getting contaminated. Then our cesspool septic tanks, then buried gasoline and solvent tank is also involved in the contamination. Then coal strip mine runoff, then pumping well, then de-icing road salt, then pesticides from the crops that are coming, and hazardous waste injuries. So these are all going to be of getting into the groundwater, which is seeping down, and thus the groundwater is getting contaminated. And this contamination is leading to the low flow rates, low oxygen, cold temperatures, and few bacteria. So then moving to the ocean pollution. So as we know that the lakes, rivers, ponds, and the nearby water bodies are getting contaminated or polluted, but the oceans are also getting polluted because of the industries and the cities and the urban sprawl, even the construction sites near the ocean bodies, then farming, then red tides, okay, and then toxic sediments. These are all going to be of involved in causing the ocean pollution. So in the figure, if you observe, here is a nearby zone of the polluted area, and here is a fresh area where it is going to be considered as a healthy zone, where the clear oxygen rich waters promote growth of the plankton and sea grasses and support the growth of the fishes. And here is the zone where you can see the oxygen depleted one because of these all pollutions. So if you see this area, so here this is going to be a closed beach. That means more sedimentation is occur and the water is going to be retained from it. So this is going to be closed beach, and here you can see the toxic sediments which are going to have the settlement of chemicals and toxic metals content that is going to be contaminate our shellfishes beds, then killing spawn fishing, and then accumulating in the tissues of bottom feeders. So once they are going to be accumulated into these animal bodies, the humans who are going to catch those things and consume them, so obviously are going to have the diseases or effects of these chemicals in an indirect manner. So this is how our ocean pollution is getting more and more because of the dumping of the litters and as well as the waste from the different sources, like industries are releasing the nitrogen oxides from otters and the smokestacks and the toxic chemicals, heavy metals into the effluents flow into bays and estuaries. Then the cities, so here also from the cities, toxic metals and oil from streets or parking lots are going to pollute waters. Sewage is going to add some nitrogen phosphorus in it. Then urban sprawl, bacteria and viruses from the sewers and the septic tanks contaminate the shellfish beds and close beaches. Runoff of fertilization from lawns adds nitrogen and that is a phosphorus into the water. And even the construction sites are also going to have the sediments are washed into the water waste, choking fish and plants, clouding water and blocking the sunlight. So if once the sunlight was blocked, majority of the what we call as planktons cannot survive there, and there will be depletion of the oxygen. Then from the farms, we are going to have the runoff of pesticides, manures, and fertilizers, which are going to add the toxin and excess nitrogen and phosphorus. So that's how in the oceans also we can see the algal blooms. Okay. Then coming to the red tides, the excess nitrogen is going to cause the explosive growth of a toxic microscopic algae, which is going to poison the fishes and the marine mammals. So these are different sources by which the ocean pollution is going to occur. Then how to prevent the water pollution? So what can we do to prevent the water pollution? So we have to be very careful about what you throw down your sink or the toilet, and use environmentally household products such as the washing powder, household cleaning agents and toiletries, and take a great care not to overuse the pesticides and the fertilizers in the field of agriculture, and then don't throw the litter into the rivers, lakes or the oceans. Then point source pollution, that is our industries, all those things, single and identical sources can be reduced by having some sort of acts, water acts. That means we have to have a strict implementation of acts which can maintain our water to be of more clean, okay, by having the implementation of the water acts in the point source of pollution. Coming to the non-point source pollution can be reduced by reducing runoff, buffer zone vegetation, and reduce soil erosion. That means we have to plant the more number of the plants surrounding the water bodies, which will reduce the soil erosion, and the plantation of these plants surrounding the water bodies or the banks of these water bodies is going to act as a buffer zone, which will not allow the other people to get in or throw the litters, all those things. So we have to say no to water pollution. Thank you.